Hello, we're calling to order the meeting of the Parks, Recreation, Human Services, and Public Safety Committee. It is 5 o'clock right now. I am Jack Walsh, Committee Chair. We're joined here with Erica Norton, Committee Member. Lydia Sefadasan, another committee member, is excused. We also have the Deputy Mayor Honda and Council President Kochmar. Let's begin with, I believe we have some public comment.
Yes, we do.
Actually, Chair,
Oh,
I'm here.
Lydia, okay, Lydia Sefadasan is here with us via Zoom. All right, wonderful,
Yes,
Lydia.
the only thing is I cannot, I just want to say up front, I cannot make motions. I don't have it in front of me because I'm traveling, but I'll definitely be fully engaged.
Okay, sounds
So
great.
Erica, it's all yours.
All right, thank
May I
you.
ask a question first? We can't see on who's on Zoom anymore. Is there a reason why? Did something change with this? It was last night too. We couldn't see, like, if her hand's up or,
Yeah,
Motions aren't on here. The motions aren't on the agenda.
no, they're not on the agenda. They're
we don't need to know now. I would just like to know for the next meetings coming up. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, let's go ahead with public comment then.
Okay, the first person we have is Susan Strong.
My name is Susan Strong. I'm from Federal Way. I just have a short and sweet comment here. Shopping carts is my topic. Shopping carts are taken by the homeless to move their possessions around town. Possession of a shopping cart off the store property needs to be treated as a theft. There must be penalties for stealing a shopping cart. Without penalties, the stealing will continue. The end.
Thank you, Susan. Right, and next.
The next person we have is Christine Smart.
Hello, my name's Christine Smart, and I'm the Makerspace Librarian for the City of Federal Way. Some of you may be aware by now that the Federal Way Library has been planning for a grand opening of the Makerspace for a number of years. For a reason I cannot fathom, the planned opening of April 2020 never came to pass. But I am thrilled to share that the day has been officially rescheduled for this Saturday. We are happy to welcome Jim Farrell, City Mayor, along with the State Senator Claire Wilson and the library's Executive Director Lisa Rosenblum, among others. The mission of the Makerspace is to develop science, technology, engineering, arts, and math skills at your community library. KCLS Makerspaces provide access to current and emerging technology and fosters creativity and innovation in dedicated labs to make projects and access technology that would otherwise not be available. Having a Makerspace in Federal Way supports everyone to dream, to create, and to make something better for our community and our world. And our soft opening this summer has been a powerful proof of concept to the incredible opportunities that we make by sharing a creative space among our neighbors. Each of our open lab classes were at 100% capacity after the first week. From 3D printing to sewing to sound production and robotics, we feel incredibly fortunate to offer these opportunities to learn and grow. One of my new teen friends has been learning each piece of equipment in turn and is eagerly teaching his newfound skills to friends and elders. A gentleman brought home homemade soaps that he makes and sells, and he uses our professional photo booth to take pictures of that so that he can improve his business. And the icing on the cake is that this space was not paid for by tax dollars and instead funded by a generous grant by the King County Library Foundation. I have postcards over at the front, and I hope that I will see many of you there this Saturday to learn all about what this special space has to offer. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
What time is that?
I apologize. It starts at 10:30 in the morning with our speakers, goes until 2, so you can show up at any time to see all of the great things that is offered. And we have some informational
Okay.
cards at the back.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Congratulations.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next.
Okay, next is Ken Blevins.
Hello, my name is Ken Blevins, and I am a 50-year resident of Federal Way. I don't look that old, but I'm exactly 50 years old, so that's how that happened. Born in Federal Way. So I cheated a little bit. Some people have some time. Anyways, I just thanks for listening to me. That sounds like a really cool thing that's going on at that library. Maybe I'll check it out. But what I came here for is I want to talk about the carts and how important this ordinance is to our city. There are state laws that are out there that require, that basically spell it out to what retailers need to do. But a lot of these retailers are national chains, and they don't go putting on specific plaques on carts for each city. They buy them in bulk and they send them out to each location. And it's really up to our city to kind of spell out exactly what we want from them in our city, that they have a license to run in our city. And so that they can get on board and actually help us help them. So this is hurting the businesses, small and big. We've had TJ Maxx that said they only had like 6 carts left at one point, and a small group, Stand Up Federal Way community, went out there and collected a bunch of carts so they didn't have to go into cart jail, and they can go back to the store directly without even having to pay that money that they didn't even do anything to cause the theft. But City of Federal Way didn't do enough to stop the theft either when it comes down to that. So I really appreciate Jack Walsh for spearheading this and getting this hopefully voted in. I definitely hope that that you guys do that and it goes to the council as soon as possible so this can happen. The thing about carts is it is theft, like Susan said. It's stealing something, and all it does is when you allow someone to steal something and keep stolen property, you're just allowing them to go steal more stuff and more stuff and more stuff. Everything in that cart's pretty much stolen. Could have been given to them, but a lot of it, they jump into a green container and pull it out and put it in there, and now it's their possession. That's theft too. So we can't allow theft to happen in our city because our kids see it. It's not good. We also can't allow people that are walking around with carts. These are drug addicts. Don't get me wrong. They're mentally ill. They're on drugs and so on. None of us are out there with carts. Why aren't we? Because we're functioning people in the society. These people aren't. So enabling these people to be on the street and move their possessions from one place to the other, or they're dumped into our city with their possessions and they go out and they go in the woods where it's not safe, is not humane, it's not leadership, it's not the way our city should run. I don't think our citizens would like it if they knew more about it. So please vote on this. Hopefully that the cops will be able to stop them and actually help them out of their carts by having trash bags and putting the stuff in it so they can store them and they don't have to spend so much time there. So it's not, if we allow them to go down the road, they're just going to commit more crimes and so on. So we got to stop it somewhere. You don't want to let this behavior go, and these people need help. So let's start helping. Thanks.
Thank you, Ken.
Okay, the next person is Anna Patrick.
Hello, I'm going to keep it real simple. I just really hope that I'm glad we're here talking about the carts. The shopping carts are a huge problem. We've been at this for a really long time trying to solve this problem. I think it goes back several decades, really. If you look back in the Federal Way Mirror, these articles go way back. The city's been trying to address this in various ways. It's not an easy solution. I'm really glad to see that stores are starting to put in the magnet things. I'm not sure if that's helping, but only those stores that can afford it are doing it. The rest are kind of the victim in this whole thing. The people that are walking around with the shopping carts are stealing them. And the things inside are often stolen. We don't know that for sure, but we do know only if the shopping cart is labeled with the business and with the warning that that shopping cart belongs at the store and needs to go back to the store. And at the very least, we need our city workers to be empowered and able to say, hey, that shopping cart doesn't belong to you. Here's a bag, empty it out, take the shopping cart back. I mean, it's just owning that, having the person own that and put it away. It's not yours. We don't have to send them to jail even though I think it's going to be difficult to not enforce it without having some sort of carrot and stick. So I'm hoping that we can come up with something that is feasible. I know that it's a staffing issue also. So we need more police officers to be able to make this city a safe and enjoyable city to live in. Seeing people walking around with shopping carts filled with stuff and just sort of sitting on the corner, panhandling, it's not a good look for Federal Way, and it's not a good thing for the businesses to lose all these carts. It's not good for the environment to find them in the woods, and it's a mess. I've had to clean up one of these shopping carts with all of the stolen makeup inside, filled to the brim with stolen makeup and other stuff that was mixed together in a big concoction. So we've got to try to nip this in the bud. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna.
And the next person is Craig Patrick.
Hello, good evening. Thanks for presenting this opportunity to speak on the carts. I think we have an opportunity here if we have a cart ordinance. I'm not too much concerned about the taking of the carts. It is a concern, but I think it gives us an opportunity if there's an ordinance for our public workers, our police or fire, could engage with these individuals and see if they could benefit from services, or to make contact with them and see if they have any warrants, or to offer them other options other than a cart. They could be traveling with like duffel bags, or they can call the South King County Fire, maybe not necessarily make it a police issue, but make it a service-oriented issue. The parks could be dispatched and give them a cart, or not a cart, but a duffel bag. There's two kinds of shopping carts that we see going on. We see people pushing the shopping carts with all their belongings in them, and then we also see shopping carts that are just abandoned. And that's just not a good look. No one wants to be, that sends a message that we don't care about our community. If there are carts laying around, if people are pushing their carts, if they're able to just block the public space with their carts, it's a little intimidating going around them because you don't know what's going to happen next. I was walking down the street with a person with a cart, and they thought I was going through their cart when I was just trying to get by it. So it creates an opportunity for the public to engage these individuals that are struggling, and it also gives our public servants an opportunity to engage with these individuals. So this is an opportunity here to get our foot in the door so they can interact with the individuals that are actually going through these difficult times. I don't think it necessarily needs to be punitive in a police response as much as it needs to be a, hey, we don't do that here, that's not acceptable, there's another option. I appreciate you guys taking a look at this and listening to public comment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Craig.
Jeffrey Tancredi? Okay.
Perfect. Thanks. Jeff Tancredi, Federal Way resident, 27 years. So I just wanted to echo some of my colleagues here. I've been retired for about 8 years, and when I was working, I never really paid attention because I had to drive to Seattle. So I didn't really pay attention until I retired, and the first thing I saw was over at Celebration Park, that area there where it's now been cleared out so that you can see in the woods. That was the first thing I noticed, people kind of going in and out. Because I would walk around the city, walk around in the parks. I'd be picking up trash. It was way before I joined stand-up. And I'd just be picking up all this trash. And I'd say, that's a lot of trash around here. And so as time went on, in these last couple of years, you see these folks with these carts. You can see they don't look good. They don't look healthy. It's not a good look for Federal Way. And it's not good for them because many of these folks have drug problems. And I say that because I've been in the encampments. I have cleaned some of them up. I've talked to some of the drug addicts. So they need help. They need to get off the street. But our policies are so woke in this state that they don't want to do the hard work. You violated the drug laws. You violated the Uniform Controlled Substance Act. For the lawyers in here, it is a state statute and it's a federal statute. But why don't we enforce it? Because we're woke. We're woke. And that's why Western Washington looks bad. We look bad, okay? So let's stop playing the word salad game. Let's, arrest these folks. If you're not going to arrest them, then get them off the street. It's a humanitarian thing. Get them off the street, get them into treatment. And a lot of times these carts are right there where people are waiting for the bus. right? People are waiting for the bus. Last time I checked, wealthy people don't ride these buses. So you see these folks in there with their carts, and they're taking up all this space. Many times the area where the people are waiting for the bus, it looks bad. There's trash everywhere. I saw some guys starting a fire in one of those bus stops. So I'm so glad we're finally dealing with this, because these carts are everywhere with all their belongings. It's probably not their stuff. I feel for them, but here's a solution. Take the first floor of those 2 hotels that King County bought and make them into treatment centers. Put them in there and get them treated so they can get back into society, so they can be functioning members of society. This is evil, what's going on by allowing them to roam around on Pack Highway. It's evil and it's disgusting. And it's a dereliction of duty by the leaders in this state and in everywhere for that to be allowed to happen. So let's take care of these folks, get them into treatment, and make them learn that you can't just steal.
Thank you, Jeff. Mary, do we have more?
And our last person is Carolyn Hoover.
All right.
Good evening, everybody. I have very strong opinions regarding this issue as a business owner and a community resident. The business side of this shopping cart theft should be an easy conclusion. Laws of theft should be applied evenly, no matter who you are, no matter where you are in life. We shouldn't pick and choose who is held responsible for the crimes they commit. Stores, for the most part, have tried to deter this behavior, some installing locking carts, some have poles on them so you can't even take them out of the store, and so they can't be removed. Some stores have given up entirely and just let them go. We need this ordinance to help our businesses and let them know we want to help in this financial burden. My next reason for support of this ordinance is the human aspect. The homeless who are stealing carts do so to make their transportation of their belongings up and down the roads, highways, and into the woods. We don't call it stealing because we think that's compassionate to help them live this lifestyle, when in reality, we are enabling this life of theirs. We are actually causing harm and enforcing the belief that this and many other criminal activities are their choice to make without any consequences. I met a gal on the street a little over 2 years ago who just a few months back got the first, I think, shopping cart theft citation. She contacted me and I've been accompanying her to court for the past month and a half. This is the best chance that has come her way in many years to move forward in her life. She accepted the chance to defer her jail sentence to our community court. It will be up to her to take advantage of this opportunity. I'm really grateful to the officer and the police department who cited her. Wouldn't that be interesting if being held accountable for theft of a shopping cart propelled her life in a completely different direction? Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. Is there any other public comment? All right. Thank you. Let's go to item A on the agenda, approval of the minutes.
I move approval of the July 12th, 2022 minutes.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, the minutes have been approved unanimously. Right. That will take us to item B, Amendment to ordinance on shopping carts, and Brian Davis will be presenting that.
Is this on Zoom? Or is this, are we on Zoom? Yes. Okay. I need to, whoever's the host, I need to share my screen. Okay, thanks. All right, so this is what we were talking about. This is the Walsh bill. Is that what we're calling this?
And Dovey.
Yeah, the Walsh Dovey Act.
The Jacks.
Okay, the Jacks Act. Okay, so I'll just go through these, and this is more of a discussion, really, than a report on my part. So happy to have a discussion with it, and then also talk about some statistics that you and I talked about that I want to share with the committee and the public regarding cart retrieval, that coincides with complaints and some staffing issues that we had over the summer, which might have given rise to the increase in complaints of the carts more recently. So this is the proposal from Councilmembers Walsh and Dovey. So signs required that are compliant with statute, that is now in our ordinance now. The city to provide verbiage, that is in statute, so that is also in code now. City to reimburse 50% of the cost to the stores. That's a policy choice on the city or on the council's behalf if they want to do that. Collection of the fee to be doubled for non-compliant carts and waived for compliant carts. And if we eventually get to a point where all carts are compliant, then there would be no fee to be charged to the stores. The police to engage offenders that are in possession of the carts. The first time offense is a warning, second is a citation, and then the proposal is to have code enforcement come and collect the cart, offer a bag to the offender, or the other option is to seize, catalog, and store the personal items of the offender, and then penalties of fine up to $500 or 6 months in jail. I think there's some statutory limitations on this last one that we would have to work, to make sure what is legal and not legal as far as what we can impose. So that's the proposal. I just want to go to the next slide to give an indication, just some statistics that I'm sorry, those numbers are not very big. That didn't come. So this top one is, let me see what it is. 350 is the top number, and it goes by 50 increments. So the blue, I apologize that that print is the graphic is great, but the print is small. So this is by month of this year, 2020. So January to current month is August. The blue bar graphs is the carts that have been retrieved by the city, and the orange line is the number of complaints that the city has received on shopping carts. So in previous years, we hover right around 150 is what a monthly average of what we collect for carts. You can see at the beginning of the year, we were a little below, and we've always stayed ahead of the complaints. Like they actually retrieve more than that are complained about because they do routes every day. And if they see a cart, whether it's one that's based in complaint or not, they'll get it. And typically we have a lot more than that we retrieve than are actually complained about. But you can see here, beginning in April and especially in May, we lost one of our cart people in March, and you can see that the actual retrieval began to decline quite a bit. And there's probably, as a result, a lot more carts that we're seeing throughout the city. We then recruited other departments, specifically the Public Works Street Crews, to help us out in June. That's not something that they normally do, but we recognized a situation that we had to deal with. We couldn't just let carts just be throughout our cities. To someone earlier said it's a bad look, and we agree, so we wanted to deal with it. And then July, we had our new person come on board, and you can see, and July 1st was the start date of this person. So you can see that for the month of July and last month, the work resumed. And as a result, also the complaints went down as well. So this coincides with hiring staff, being fully staffed on this issue. We believe that with this continued volume of work that is currently being done, that there are a lot fewer complaints. There's like 30, 25 to 30 complaints a month versus, almost 10 times that much, more than 10 times that much for what is actually retrieved. So thank you to Chair Walsh, who, I brought this issue up to him and I mentioned this issue. He said, why don't you show this at the meeting to indicate what's going on. So I appreciate that suggestion. And so that's kind of the dynamic that we're seeing. Over the summer that we saw, or the late spring, early summer, there was a drop-in service by the city. So that affected the appearance of the city, and but now that we're fully staffed, that has changed. So getting back to the proposal. The hesitation that we bring before the committee is that there appears to be two issues. One is the people that we're dealing with, and then there's the carts that are left over. And some of the people want to deal with both of them at the same time. Others want to deal with them separately. If we're trying to go after the people, I think, which is really what we're kind of based on the conversation I've got, that's really what is ultimately what we're trying to get at. That becomes more of an issue for the police, because then we are dedicating time for the police to cite people, given a warning, okay? If we go to a citation, and I am a solutions-oriented guy, and I'm going to come across right here as a little bit of a that this specific proposal it needs to be reworked, I think, for it to work. But I don't have an alternative solution to bring to the table right now, and for that I apologize up front. So I don't want to just come across as someone who's trying to poke holes just to kill the discussion. I don't want that to happen. But to cite someone who invariably can't pay for it is probably not effective, or to arrest them for an offense that the jail is not going to take them in for. And there was an example that someone said that they'd rather go to community court. I'm sure that was offered because the jail won't take them in the first place. So that's a struggle that we have in dedicating police resources to an end goal that, at least at this point, is difficult to envision of what that would result in for the person who has the cart. And then, if it goes to court, they raise their hand and say, "Yeah, I didn't steal it." And then that's, whether they're lying or telling the truth, it doesn't matter at that point, because the court there's no witnesses unless someone's staken out at a store.
Can I?
Yeah.
Well, first off, with the question of the police resources and jail and stuff like that, how is this different than the pedestrian interference ordinance that we passed a few months ago, as far as answering those same questions that you just brought up? But what's the difference here than with that?
I don't follow.
Okay,
Sorry.
a few months ago, we passed a pedestrian interference ordinance, correct? And there were some consequences with it. And it would take police time to enforce that. It would go to the courts, other ramifications. How is this different than that?
So, and I would, if Deputy Chief Neal could speak to what has been done since that passage, but I imagine it's no different, because if we're taking people who are obstructing the right-of-way, for whatever the offense is, if it's someone that falls into this same category, then it is no different than what I'm talking about, where they go to the judge or the jail and they say, what's the offense? Well, I was
Okay.
on the sidewalk.
Yeah, but basically what I'm saying is that we, as a council and as a city, with the endorsement of the mayor, decided to pass that pedestrian interference ordinance. And there's the same challenges there. So even though there's the same challenges here, why not implement this?
Well, because, we again, to be solutions oriented, we want to pass something that is effective. And in this case, the other one sounds great, and maybe in the end will be effective. At this point, arresting people for the mere fact that they have a cart to the jail or to the someone who's going to get a citation, it's not going to be. In our view, it's not going to change the problem on the ground. And that's really what we're talking about, is the problem on the ground. What do we see? What does the person experiencing? And if we just arrest them for having a cart and the jail turns them away, they go to court, or go to community court instead, that may work. But again, to change the behavior, we're not sure if that's the best solution at this point.
Anybody has a question?
Councilmember Asefa Dawson has a question.
Actually, mine can wait to the end right now. I
Okay.
think a couple of my questions were already.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, and Councilmember Norton has a question.
Hi, thank you for your presentation. Okay, so the huge amount of carts that were collected in August, was that just a good month, or was that kind of making up for what hadn't been taking place over the last couple?
It was, so we got the new employee on board and they actually did the work.
And there, so is this person dedicated to just picking, and they're abandoned carts?
Yeah.
Okay, and then, okay, so my next question, I'm trying to word this in a way that won't make people angry, but it's going to make someone angry. I'm an expert at that. So really, we could pass this ordinance today, and unless someone directs staff to enforce it, it doesn't really matter what we pass, because we don't have the power to enforce this. We can just, we can write it down on a piece of paper and say, hey, this is a new city ordinance, but only one person has the power to enforce this, and if they don't want to do it, then how would we convince that person that it's something that would benefit the city? Is that a possibility, or is that just not going to happen at this point?
Specifically to convince the mayor to enforce it, is what you're saying? Yeah.
Is that possible?
That's.
I'm just asking.
I think it's, to answer your question, that's certainly a conversation for the council and the mayor to have, but I think what I would offer is that you pass something that is effective and that takes the resources that we have and then provides an end result that is, for lack of a better term, worthy of the resources that are dedicated. So if we take resources to go after something that, it's just a revolving door and doesn't have much effectiveness, then that's a concern. We don't want to have something on the books that's not.
Do you have an alternative to
To my earlier comments, I don't at this point.
Okay.
I would, again, I don't want to, I'm uncomfortable just coming up here and just killing ideas, because that's the fact that the council has generated a proposal is very encouraging to me. And I don't want to be kind of a wet blanket on this because I don't have an alternative solution, but I would like to continue the discussion to maybe come up with something. But no, to your answer at this point, I don't have one.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Council President Kochmar and then Deputy Mayor Honda.
Oh, thank you, Brian. So, we have ordinances on the books. We don't enforce them per se. They're like a tool in the toolbox to be used when necessary. And so I'm wondering if we couldn't just get something on the books to get a tool in the toolbox to be used. The real issue is, how do we come up with the solution to getting the carts back without penalizing the store owners? And so probably we need more discussion on this whole issue. But I'm certainly not against putting an ordinance on the books that could be used as a tool.
I totally agree. What my hesitation with it, I don't want something on the books that is not effective or not enforceable. So we can put whatever you want on the books, but if it's just sitting there, it's not really doing any good. So I want to come up with something that is good and effective.
Could you go back to the suggestions, please?
Yeah.
So did you write this, or did the council?
This is, oh, sorry, let me put this on Zoom so everyone can see it.
Okay.
Oh, for heaven's sakes. Okay.
Thank you. So I have some questions. First of all, we've had, Councilmember Walsh, we've had a pedestrian interference ordinance for 10 years, according to city attorney, and we just keep making modifications to it that should be held up in court. So, but that has been used as a tool, as Councilmember Kochmar just mentioned, and I recently asked if anyone had ever been cited for that, and it doesn't appear that anyone's ever been cited for that. Do you know, Assistant Chief, if anyone's ever been cited for pedestrian interference? Okay, good. So it doesn't appear from what research might have been done when I asked the question that anyone's been cited for that, but, and 50% of the cost, do we know what the cost is? And is this a cost for putting the signs on the carts? Is that what?
What this proposal was with that, and that can be a matter of discussion.
Okay.
On whether we want to do that or not. I think one of the key things is that that if the carts are non-compliant, that if the stores are not putting them the signage on correctly, that it's a higher fee. But if they are actually putting it on, that we're waiving the fee, and that would be long-term. And I think that it needs to be, the stores need to be rewarded for doing things that will allow us to enforce it. Because if the carts don't have anything on them, I mean, there's nothing that we can do to enforce it.
Okay. So we don't know the cost yet?
Well, we don't know the cost. That would need to be determined.
As to code enforcement, from what little I know about code enforcement is they're really busy with what they do, going out to the house, trying to enforce the codes around the city. And we go through code enforcement officers pretty quickly.
This would be at least another position.
Okay, so we would have to hire another staff person.
Probably that and a half-time admin.
Okay.
Just because there's cataloging and because we can't, by law, we can't just take stuff and.
So we'd have to get a storage unit.
Storage unit and a system to store it so that we know who it belongs to so they can come and retrieve it if they want to claim it.
One time I was at the day center about 6 years ago, and on a Friday night, a camp had been cleared out that afternoon, and they asked me to come over and talk to some of the folks over there, and so I went over there, and one lady said to me, well, since I don't have my tent anymore, and I don't have my sleeping bag anymore, I'm just gonna have to go steal it again. So I would be concerned that if we, I would be concerned about that. But I don't think it's a terrible idea to have an ordinance against shopping cart theft. I just don't know that this needs a lot of work on it, but it's a good start.
Yeah, and, okay. Council President Kochmar.
So, thank you, Chair. So you and Jack Walsh and Dobie created the ordinance?
We came up with this
Right.
general outline.
Oh, okay,
yes.
but not with the help of staff? Staff was-
Not, we presented it to staff for them to work
and
on
then-
and to
and then-
fill out and make it so it would be something that could be.
Okay, and so now it's not back on for information only, because he is saying it's not ready yet.
Right, this
Yeah.
is discussion only tonight.
Yeah,
Okay, so-
discussion only tonight, yes.
So I'm not willing to let go. I want to do something. I mean,
Mhm.
we've been talking and talking and talking and talking. We need to do something. And we're in the middle of budget discussions. We're in the middle of coming up with, maybe we need a task force with the stores involved. Maybe we need to have a further meeting on this, but maybe it needs more work. But I just think we need to do something.
Right. Yes,
So
Brian.
if I could, again, this is my solution, it's going to be vague, I apologize up front. But, so, the supervisor of this program is also the supervisor of building permits and plan review. He's down 2 staff on the building side. We're also recruiting for the economic development director that I'm heading up. I'm also heading up the budget. So what I would offer is that I expect to get those positions filled by the economic development director probably by the end of October. And then by that time, we are in the middle of budget discussions. So what I would offer to the group, I don't know if it's tempting or not, but I will have more time after those positions are filled to dedicate more time to this. And also the supervisor of the program will have more time that we can sit down with Chair Walsh and anyone else from the council or the committee that wants to talk about it. Because I feel like that you guys have come up with a proposal. All the time that we've had to do is just look and see, well, this won't work. And I want to sit down and collaborate and come up with something that you're paying us to do something that we currently don't have time to do. If this is what you want us to do, we currently don't have time to do it, but we will, I'm guessing, after October to do that. And typically, the winter months see a little bit less carts, not always. They tend to come out in the summer months, but that could give us a little bit of breathing room to have this discussion for something to come before the council by the beginning of next year. Again, that's an offer, but just given the resources that we currently have in place, I'd be hesitant to take something that's not vetted with our current operations and legal research and just get it on the books because we want something on the books. I would offer something more vetted and analytical on staff's part to help you come up with the goal that obviously everyone wants to see happen.
So Brian,
Yeah.
wouldn't, if this requires a position and a half, at least a position and a half, wouldn't we need to be talking about it during budget season? That's when we talk about new positions.
Yes, but that's also something that, this clearly has the interest of the community, and it's something that could be done through an amendment to the
Okay.
budget. It's not, it is, so a position and a half or something like that, we're probably talking about, with benefits, 125 to 150 is what we're talking about. That's to say nothing of the storage cost or anything like that. So I want to, and there may be a more, again, that's where I'm saying, we're ready to do this and all of a sudden it's really expensive and then we have to pay for it versus letting us take the time to look at it to see what might work, might be more incentive-based, might be more, if you do want to throw money at the problem, then why don't we, again, come up with something where the stores are changing their security measures and the council wants to put more money towards human services to help out with the problem.
What?
So,
So can I, when you're working on this, could you have the police department work with you? Because
Sure, yeah.
we can have 100 ordinances about this, but if the police don't have time to stop the folks that have the shopping carts, or if it's not gonna hold up in court because all they have to say is that they didn't steal the shopping cart and no one can prove that they stole it?
We've had this discussion, but yeah, there's.
I'm sorry, I can't hear what was said. I
it's-
couldn't hear it.
Brian, can you actually address that, or can?
Yeah, go ahead, Ken.
Sure.
Can,
Yeah, I think you're probably referring to the state law, which uses the phrase "to be in possession of any shopping cart." However, that phrase is qualified later on by what legally is called a mens rea requirement, which says that they have to be in possession of the shopping cart, and the shopping cart was removed with intent to deprive the owner of the shopping cart.
so,
Quote, with the intent to. Sure, I'll read it. I'm looking at it right now. Quote, with the intent to deprive the owner of the shopping cart.
That means if they have it off premises, they're doing that with their stuff in the cart.
yeah, so,
Otherwise, they
here,
would
okay. Let's, okay.
Yeah, and I don't know if we
Let's-
can
yeah.
adjudicate or
Yeah,
interpret law here on the
let's
phone.
not,
This is-
but yeah, I mean, to me, it seems as though, I mean, if it would be, they would be depriving the business of that.
Yeah, and I agree with the
and
comment
so-
that we can't adjudicate it here,
Yeah.
but to be simplistic about it, it isn't as simple as just saying you have the shopping cart, therefore you are guilty of this. There's a bit more to it
So,
than that.
with, Councilmember Norton.
Okay, so regarding the ARPA thing, I just like the way we always are throwing ARPA at everything. So if this is going to be an ongoing situation and they're talking about hiring staff, and this is something that will be a permanent thing with the city, we can't use the ARPA funds. It's against the rules. So we've got to throw that out the window before we even go any further.
So look,
I mean-
when
And
we
where
do,
would
when we
you
do
be-
the budget, we will.
Okay,
Yeah.
but
need
where
to look
would you
for
be
money.
pulling the funds from, and also how much are you talking about? Because we need to have some kind of itemized cost.
Yeah, with the idea with the ARPA funds was strictly for to help reimburse the stores for the cost of placarding the carts correctly, not for the ongoing thing.
Okay.
And once again, I mean, the ARPA funds, that's a side issue that we can discuss whether or not that's appropriate use of ARPA funds or not. But that would not be part of the ordinance itself.
Okay.
I have
And
another
so-
question for Brian about the storage unit. When the Red Lion opens as a shelter, will there be a storage unit there for people to put their stuff in while they're in the Red Lion?
I believe they're obligated to accommodate it somehow. I don't know what that looks like. But that, if you're getting at, would we be able to use that for shopping cart
Belongings,
spoils?
yeah.
I doubt it.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. One question that I have, you said it'd take at least a 1.5 personnel to do it. You know, even if it was just implemented a little at a time. I mean, say if there was one person a week that was cited on it, within a few months, the message would get out that, hey, Federal Way, you can't go pushing shopping carts down the street. And so I think I differ with the idea that it would take that much staffing to enforce it. And, you know, I mean, what we kind of take a look at with the graffiti removal.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's not near as much graffiti going up in the city as what there used to be, because the so-called graffiti artists know that it's not going to stay.
Right. So if we do it once a week, that's without hiring someone, that's going to be added on to additional staff until we hire someone where there's more frequency, if I understand what you're saying? I mean,
yeah,
someone's got to do it. So if we're not hiring someone, then it's on additional staff to do that, and the storage. So
Yeah.
if I understand you correctly.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that it doesn't seem like it'd take a person and a half, even if it's implemented slowly. And within a fairly short amount of time, I think the problem would be reduced, and there wouldn't be as need for as much work with enforcement. But,
So, Chair Welch, I think
Yes.
all of this can be
Yeah.
discussed in a kind of a
yeah,
a
let's,
task force meeting.
well, what I think that we should do, you mentioned, putting some type of task force together with representation from the stores. I think that it would be well if we did have some type of task force with representation from the stores, representation from some of the people in the audience right now, and representation from the council, and then, of course, staff. Beforehand, I talked to, it was either 7 or 8 general managers of the stores here in Federal Way, talking to them specifically about what the situation was with shopping carts. With Safeway, Fred Meyer, Costco, Target, Walmart, both Walmarts, and discussing what the challenges are with them. And I think that they would be on board, even if it would be an additional cost for them to placard the cards appropriately. But what needs to be done in order to create a task force that works quickly, not dragging it on too long? I know that right now, the next 60 days, staff has, it is budget time and there's challenges there. But what can we do to create the task force that it can get started and then come up with some concrete solutions that will work?
Yeah, I would include the smaller stores. Their voice is probably more, the big stores, they can adjust, to be honest. They won't say that, but they can adjust to whatever the council does. But the smaller stores, if we say you got to do X, Y, Z, they're the ones that are most affected by any non-incentive based approach that the city takes. So I've just had a comment that we
Okay,
need to
all
include
right.
the small stores as well.
That makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense.
So, Chair, can you put a deadline to come back for, when
Yeah,
this can be
let's,
rediscussed?
yeah. What,
I do have a comment also when it's time.
yes, Councilmember Seth Dawson.
Okay, thanks, and just wanted to say that this, especially when we're talking about penalizing the $500, there's no way people can afford that, and it's not realistic, so I do have a concern about that. But I do appreciate what people have said during the public comment and solution-based. And one thing they said that I've been thinking about is, and I think I kind of touched on this at the last meeting, is that the cart is really used to carry things and to haul things around, so belongings. And so I do agree with the suggestions that maybe a duffel bag or even a storage unit or something that the city could be a part of is something that I think is a solution, and that would really minimize people needing the carts. And so if you do end up with an ad hoc committee, I think that would be something really great to consider. And if there's anyone who's been homeless, has had lived experience, I think that person should also be there because they do understand the psychology of why the cards are taken, and also, and we've talked about all the different addictions and everything that people go through and deal with. And so even with that in mind, I believe having someone who's experienced it and who's done with it should be at the table when that is established. And I also believe either as staff to be there, because staff also knows what their needs are, what their capacity is. So I really would support to have a staff member be at the table as well. So thank you.
All right.
That's my comment.
Thank you. Thank you. Deputy Mayor Honda.
Thank you. I have a question on the possible fines for something like this, and this would probably be for you. I thought that the state legislature doesn't allow us to charge court fees if someone is unable to pay them, if they're homeless or unable to pay them. Is that true?
Sometimes, yes. I'd also say that in addition to that, any fine that's specified either under state law or under our own code is a maximum amount, and the judge has discretion to award any amount up to that. But frequently, in cases like this, especially in cases of indigency like you're talking about, that amount is frequently going to be zero. And by the way, the same holds true for any potential jail time as well.
So then what could be the possible, so how could people be helped? If we can't cite them, and they know that, I'm sure that's well known throughout their community. And we don't have treatment beds because we don't have treatment facilities here.
I'm afraid that's probably more of a policy question than a legal
Yeah.
question.
No.
Okay.
I mean, I think that perhaps, I mean, the case that Carolyn Hoover cited to begin with, you know, where somebody did end up being cited and went to community court, and it's hopefully will make a difference in that person's life. And so, I mean, the judge obviously has the discretion to reduce things, but in my opinion, getting the person in front of the judge is a step in the right direction towards solving a problem.
I'll also, if I could just jump in and say one more thing, which is that frequently for first-time offenders, judges tend to be lenient when it comes to sentences, and frequently the more times they get a frequent flyer, especially for the same offender, generally they start to become more strict and less lenient in their rulings as well.
And that's very appropriate. What is an appropriate timeframe for putting
to get back to the timeframe, which I agree with. So again, the budget is going to take us into November, and depending on how that goes, possibly even to December. And December is a tough month for any policy development anyway. So I would dedicate potentially a portion of December, all of January and February to the development of this, to report back to this committee at the March 14th meeting for a proposal that works for everyone.
That seems a long ways off. I mean,
We will not have time to do it any time this year with the budget, and I don't do, shopping carts is not what I do. So just to be clear on that, I'm here because there's two people below me that are too busy to be here. So I don't want to paint a picture that we have ample staff to work on this, because we don't.
With putting together what did you mention, Linda? A group to. Yeah, a task force. I mean.
Yes, that's what I'm suggesting, but you do need a staff person there.
Uh-huh. So you're saying we wouldn't be able to put a task force together until after the first of the year?
No, well, till the budget's done, and till the economic development director is filled and the budget's done, then we'll have capacity to do this.
So can we have a target of having a task force together in December?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. And like I say, we already have some volunteers from out there to be on the task force.
That's great, because we can't do this alone.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
And I think that Lydia's idea of somebody with lived experience, if we can find somebody appropriate for that to be on the task force, that would be great as well. So, all right. Yeah. So, all right.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Did you have something else, Lydia?
No, I just
Oh,
said
okay.
thank you
All
for
right.
adding
Okay,
that
thank
to
you.
the mix.
All
Thanks.
right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Again, thank you for coming up with a proposal. We don't usually see that from elected leaders. So the fact that you're doing that is, like I said earlier, that's very encouraging to see that you're vested in this. So thank you for getting the ball rolling.
Right, thank you. All right, that takes us to item C, report on the PAC operations.
Good evening, Chair, Deputy Mayor, council members. Thank you for having us tonight. As we do at each of these meetings, I have Brian Hoffman, General Manager for the Federal Way Performing Arts and Event Center through Oakview 360. I'm here to give you a report. Because we weren't here in August, he will be reporting on June and July. And then in addition, back when we brought the MOU between the Arts Commission and the Federal Way Performing Arts Foundation forth, there were some questions about the foundation's mission, what they do, how they're involved with the PAC. So I have both Jean Burbage and Mary Gates with me tonight that will step up after Brian Hoffman to provide an update for you guys. And before I do that, I will pull up their graphics so that way they have it on the screen. Well, I will leave it this way for now because I can't get it to go full screen, but that way you guys can see it. So without further ado, Brian Hoffman.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Brian Hoffman here with Oakview Group, presenting the overall operations for June and July at the PAC. We previously provided about a 3-page document that I won't read line by line. We'll kind of hit on a couple of things for June and July, as well as a little bit of the financial stuff, and then available if there's any questions that any of you may have. Mostly in July, the property or the facility, we had 2 events. We were closed for about 2.5 weeks for what we call our annual maintenance and updates. So really the first time in the 5 years that the PAC has been opened that we kind of closed down, so to speak, and did updates, and they included painting of the stage, annual inspections of our pit lift, and a lot of 5-year anniversary or 5-year requirements that are done via the state, so such as the fire alarm panel system, the elevators with their 5-year annual inspections, painting of the stage, the entire seating area was painted in the floor, and then throughout the rest of the property, and in the mostly in the lobby and public places. We did a little bit of updates and some things in the backstage area where most of the artists are, but a lot of our focus was done in the public space, in the lobby and seating area. We did have an event scheduled on July 2nd, which was a concert that unfortunately was postponed, or the event organizers postponed to September 24th. And then we had a couple of days of Board of Elections with King County Board of Elections at the facility. We participated in various things throughout the month with our corporate support, with regional conference calls, booking calls, attended various city events and meetings such as LTAC and our finance calls, the Good Eggs breakfast meetings hosted by King County Council member. And then we did get the lobby windows, the one that was damaged because of the landscaper in our lobby fixed and replaced, and then the 3 other windows that were damaged, we assume, by some type of pellet gun or BB gun. So all of them have been fixed and updated, as well as the completion and conclusion of the art exhibit with all of the flowers and those types of things, and the landscaping throughout the property. You know, in regards to financial status, we have been comparing our actual year-to-date with pre-pandemic levels in 2019. So there's a graph there with our events and our revenues for June of 19 versus June of 2020, and then the same for July of 19 compared to July of 2020. Through the end of July, we are and are forecasting through the end of the year to beat budget by about $150,000, and we're up on gross revenues by about $90,000 through July of 2022. And then in August, just kind of going back and looking ahead, we had approximately 11 events through the month of August, most notably our 5th year anniversary, which we saw many of you. Thank you for participating and coming and joining the 5 years that the PAC has been open. And then looking ahead through October through the end of the year, we look to have about 40 to 45 events already on the books or booking, which will take us well around about 155 events for the entire year. And then one notable event that we're looking forward to and partnership and the return of is in partnership with the Performing Arts Foundation is October 16th, our gala event, which monies raised go to help support our Arts for Youth program. And as mentioned, that's in partnership with the Federal Way Performing Arts Foundation. So available and for any questions that anyone may have.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Honda.
Thank you. The landscaping looks very nice. Thank you very much for taking care of that. I appreciate that. Are you working on the naming rights? Have you done anything with that?
Yeah, we have. We actually are with a lot of challenges in the hospitality industry, staffing. So we're actually down 5 staff of where the levels were at in 2018. So we are with our corporate resources through the some staffing in Angel of the Winds Arena and at the Climate Pledge Arena, working with them on coming up with some proposals and looking at what that value would be for naming rights of the PAC.
So do you anticipate, when would you anticipate maybe having someone interested in naming rights? Do you think sometime this year or?
We would probably have the analysis and proposals and stuff done by the end of the year with the anticipation of presenting that and looking at that no later than the first month of 2023.
Okay. And during the 5-year celebration, congratulations, there is furniture in the lobby?
Mm-hmm.
Is that furniture staying there?
No, that was rented for that particular event as part of our decor and overall feel and vibe of the event.
Okay. And one more question. What month did you fully open last year after COVID? Do you remember?
Starting without limited capacity restrictions, the latter part of September, early October.
Okay, thank you.
So about a year ago this time.
Any other questions from the council? All right. Thank you, Brian.
And I'll hand it back over to Autumn.
All right. Autumn, do you have more?
At this time, I'd like to invite Jean Burbidge and Mary Gates up to just give you guys a brief update on the Federal Way Performing Arts Foundation. As I mentioned, you guys had questions in June when the MOU between them and the Arts Commission was brought forth. And I think having them here to answer some of those questions and provide an update on their upcoming gala, as well as how their mission benefits the Performing Arts Center, is important. So I will turn it over to them.
Good evening, and thank you so much for being interested in knowing what is this outfit called the Federal Way Performing Arts Foundation. And I guess I should start by saying that the former part of our organization was called the Federal Way Coalition for the Performing Arts. And that group, plus many of us in addition to that wonderful group, had the mission to raise money for a Performing Arts Center. And that particular group, in fact, raised $1 million toward the Performing Arts Center. Once they said, hey, the coalition has completed its mission. We have raised money for the Performing Arts Center, and we have a Performing Arts Center being built. They said, now what? They said, we don't want to do this anymore. This is not our mission any longer. And so they said, but we certainly need some way to make sure that this Performing Arts Center is successful in some ways at least. And that's when the 501c3 of the coalition became the 501c3 for the Federal Way Performing Arts Foundation. That coalition named many of us as their first board of directors. Jean Burbidge, myself, and several others of the fundraising group were named, and then, of course, as all good boards do, we added additional people. So we are a 501c3 with a board of directors. I thought I'd let you know who the board is, because we have fiduciary responsibility for the money that we raise and for what we do with it. We have to be very careful of that. And so the people who are responsible are Jean Burbidge, Sherry Song, Cindy Panette, Carolyn Vadino, Paul Ishii, Jeffrey Stewart, and Bob Oliver at this point. Those are the people who are part of our board. We also have a gala committee, which Jean will talk about more. Our mission, and it's been that mission since we had the old one-day retreat type of thing, but it served us well, is to advance, enhance, and enrich performing arts in our community. And in particular, we of course care about the success of the PAC. We have then served as ambassadors. When people ask what's happening at the PAC, we try to be informed and know. We work with Brian Hoffman and Autumn Grissett, of course, on all of the things that we do. This year, it's a partnership again. The partnership is involved with creating the gala and working in partnership with the PAC and also with the Federal Way Schools, because we support our Arts for Youth program that is age-appropriate performances for young students, and that means no students who could not afford to come to the PAC would never be left behind in their schools. They would always be included. We support busing and tickets and the programs that the PAC offers for the young people. In addition, we just today, we came right from our board meeting to your meeting, approved the fact that we will have a free sponsorship for free movie of Elf the Saturday of Thanksgiving for families and children. Again, trying to make sure there are no financial barriers to enjoying art in our community. And you've already reviewed the MOU with Arts Explosion for the Arts Commission. So we believe that partnerships get us further and cost everyone a whole lot less. And everyone gets to enjoy this wonderful Performing Arts Center. I'm going to turn it over to Jean to tell you so much more, because she knows so much more.
Thank you, Marion. Thank you for inviting us to be here today. We appreciate the opportunity to share information about the foundation and about our activities. And as you can see up there, and perhaps you have additional information, I have a couple of handouts to share with you also. You may have seen these before. We have the fun records that outline the performers who will be coming and sharing the music of these four outstanding musicians that have shared so much with all of us over the years. And we also have an informational piece that gives the goals of the work that the foundation does in providing for enrichment of the performing arts throughout the community, and in particular for our young people, for the students, and working with the school district and other schools as well. This event that is coming up on Saturday, the 15th of October, begins at 5 o'clock in the evening with a social hour. That's followed up with a festive dinner, and then the show at 7:30. The show will be the musicians that come from the Broadway show that has traveled around the country and continues to do so, And we are very much looking forward to that event. The social hour that begins at 5 o'clock when the doors open will give people an opportunity to reconnect with each other after the many years of COVID. It feels like it's really just ending, of taking a very slow process. But it is a joy to be able to gather again with people in a social situation, and when we have this kind of performance available to us. During the dinner, people will have the opportunity to place some bids on ticket offerings, both tickets at the PAC itself and tickets donated by our local performing groups. For example, the Federal Way Symphony, the Auburn Symphony, the Federal Way Chorale, and possibly the Harmony Kings. So then there will be a Raise the Paddle as well, where traditionally people will step forward and offer to donate additional funds to the operation of the foundation and the work of the foundation. And I would be happy to answer any questions along with Mary.
Right. Any questions for Mary or Jean or Autumn? Yes, Deputy Mayor Honda.
Thank you. When the children come in, it's not just Federal Way schools, is it? Is it also?
It's mainly Federal Way School District, yes. We work very closely with them in scheduling the performances and scheduling the transportation, yes.
So it's not any other district?
We do include other districts, but the majority of our students and our scholars that have come in over the first 3 years when we're open was Federal Way Public Schools, but we have as far down as Puyallup and Olympia. Auburn's been within our facility. We have private schools and different co-ops that come in for our matinees as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you, Jean.
You're welcome.
All right, Mary, Jean, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you for all your work. The arts are indeed very important.
Thank you.
All right, and next, item D, King County Registered Sex Offender Cost Reimbursement Agreement.
Good evening, committee members. Deputy Chief Neal with the Police Department. I have 4 items that I'm going to be presenting tonight. The first one, the policy question, is should the City of Federal Way Police Department accept the Registered Sex Offender Overtime Cost Reimbursement Agreement from the King County Sheriff's Department for the 2022-23 grant period. So this is a grant that we take advantage of every year. And what it does, it allows us to go out into the community and check on the registered sex offenders that we have here. That is typically the job of the Sheriff's Department to do that. But years ago, with their inability and staffing to do it, we decided to take it on as the police department for the safety and security of our own citizens to go ahead and do it, and they agreed to reimburse us. This year's reimbursement is $16,982.87. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Oh. Just one question. How many registered sex offenders are there in the City of Federal Way typically?
There's approximately about 150 level 3s and about half of that level 2s, and then probably 15 or so of the worst.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? All right. Do we have a motion?
I move approval of the proposed agreement and authorize Chief of Police Andy J. Huang to execute said agreement.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 My apologies, that sounded like the council motion as opposed to the committee recommendation.
It should move forward with the proposed agreement to September 20th.
I'm just reading what it says. Sorry. I move to forward the proposed agreement to the September 20, 2022 consent agenda for approval.
Second.
Moved and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, it's carried unanimously.
It's lovely.
All right. And,
The
all right. And let's go on to the next one then.
The next item is agreement between the Washington Traffic Safety Commission and the Federal Way Police Department to provide grant funding for traffic enforcement. So the policy question is, should the city of Federal Way Police Department accept $5,000 in grant funds from the WTSC for distracted driving enforcement? This is the same type of a grant which allows us to go out and do additional traffic enforcement and to utilize the $5,000 to do that for traffic safety for the city.
Right.
And it's something that, again, we have taken advantage of this grant for years, several years.
Right. Thank you. Any questions? Do we have a motion?
I move to forward the proposed mini grant award for PSATT to the September 6, 2022 consent agenda for approval.
And I apologize again. We've actually skipped an agenda item. It's the next, you didn't do anything, Councilmember Norton. We skipped the agenda item that you just read the agenda bill for. It's actually the next agenda bill in your packet.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's my mistake. I just have
And
them
I'm
out of
just
order here.
tired. I'm not paying attention to what I'm reading.
So,
Okay, here,
let's-
I've got the right one now. I move to forward the IAA, God, between WTSC and FWPD to the September 13th, 2022 City Council consent agenda for approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded, and
you
once
sure?
again, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? It carries. Did we do it right?
God.
All right. Okay.
Okay, now
Go
we'll
ahead.
go to the one we're supposed to do. That's
That-
Puget
The
Sound.
one we've already approved?
Yeah.
I did- it wasn't-
Yeah, you already did this one, I won't read it. No. Puget Sound Auto Theft Task Force, that's the PSAT 2022 Mini Grant Award. The policy question, should the city agree to accept a 2022 Mini Grant Award from WATPA for the PSAT? Those are the acronyms there. So this grant, we are a member of the Puget Sound Auto Theft Task Force, and we have been for many years. Matter of fact, one of our commanders is the overall commander for this. We have an office space in Auburn that we occupy, and there's members from several different agencies as well as the State Patrol who participate in this program. It's been very successful over the years. That's why we continue to do it.
Thank you. Do we need to approve that again, or is it done?
I think unfortunately I cut Councilmember Norton off right after the motion, so I don't think we actually voted properly on it. So if we could do it again, that would be great. I
Okay.
apologize.
I move to forward the proposed mini grant award for PSATT to the September 6, 2022 consent agenda for approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Carries unanimously once again. Go ahead.
I am also going to present, Commander Swan was going to do this, but he wasn't able to come. So I'm going to also present the Criminal Justice Training Commission Basic Law Enforcement Academy TAC Officer Agreement. The policy question, should the mayor approve the agreement between the City of Federal Way and the Criminal Justice Training Commission for reimbursement of salary and benefits, including overtime, in exchange for a Federal Way Police Department officer being assigned as a TAC officer, which is an instructor at the academy, at the Basic Law Enforcement Academy. This is something that the academy, obviously, the TAC officers, the instructors really are made up from police officers around the state because we only have one academy in the state of Washington. So they depend on departments who have the ability to send someone up to become an instructor. We haven't done it for a few years, but we have in the past. So we are participating in that program, and there's a couple of things that advantages for us. I'll just give you just a brief bit of information that when we hire somebody like we did today, the next academy they can attend is February. But by having a TAC officer there, if we hire somebody, they will get in fairly immediately that's one of the benefits of having a TAC officer there. And as you know, we have several officers that we need to hire and we will continue to hire. So that's one of the benefits, and the state pays for the salary and benefits and overtime for the TAC officer.
All right, any questions? Do we have a motion?
Yes, sir. And I read it ahead of time, so I know I'm on the right one. I move to forward the proposed agreement to the September 20th, 2022 consent agenda for approval.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Right, it carries unanimously. Thank you, Commander.
Yes, you're welcome. Sorry
Aye.
for the confusion.
And now Mr. Jason Kerwin for the final item on the agenda, contracted electrical service request for quotes.
Good evening, Council. Policy question I have before you tonight is, should the City Council approve the proposed request for quotes and authorize staff to solicit proposals from the MRSC, Municipal Research Service Center, for small works electrical services? We generally, in the Parks Department, have a contracted electrician and have dollars held there for any electrical needs, whether it's a new outlet at City Hall, all the way to copper wire theft at a ball field to have that replaced. And so that way we have the electrical services on staff. We can just pick up the phone, call them, and have them come fix things rather than having to go through the bidding process every time. And so our previous contracted electrician fell on hard times during COVID and unfortunately went out of business. Therefore, that terminated our contract, and so we are looking to reestablish and have those services on hand.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions? Right.
I move to forward the proposed request for quotes to the September 20, 2022 consent agenda for approval.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? It carries unanimously. Thank you. All right, and
I
with,
have
okay, Councilmember Norton.
I'd like to say, oh, he left. I wanted to say thank you to Ken Blevins for finally picking up his water bottle that has been sitting next to the door for about 6 months. Thanks, Ken. Appreciate it.
All right. All right. Anything else? Okay. Lydia, do you have any comments? No. Okay.
No, I don't, but thank you for allowing me to stay, and my battery was about to die, so I'm
Right.
glad
Thank
we
you.
ended this meeting when we did, so
Okay.
thank you so much, appreciate it, and I'll join you in person next time.
Right. Our next meeting will be October 11th at 5 p.m. right here. Thank you, and the meeting is adjourned.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Bye-bye.